Yep. So I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Ali, our speaker today. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're very honored to have Ali, Dr. Ali Nick, today as our speaker. So with a PhD in education and over 20 years of experience, Dr. Ali Nick is an internationally certified result coach, educator, and author. So she specializes in empowering individuals and organizations through personalized coaching, workshops, and keynote presentations. So Ali is passionate about helping clients achieve clarity, unlock potential, and navigate complex challenges, drawing on her own experience, extensive experience in personal and professional development. Right, so Ali, I think I'll just hand it over to you. And if you're ready, I will start recording the session. Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do that.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. Recording in progress.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. Whenever I have a presentation, I'm quite excited. I think you can feel that from my voice and my body language. And I want to commend you for taking this time out of your busy PhD lives to invest this time in your life, your personal development, and to come here and learn about the art of living and, of course, mastering the art of living. And because time is the most precious thing we have got in life, let's get started. So what you will learn in this session is, the very first one is you're going to learn a one-liner, which is going to be your North Star. What is the art of living? What should I do with my life? The second thing you will learn today are the 3 stages of change. Whenever you want to change something in your life, by the way, I read all the responses you had shared. Thank you very much for sharing those. And at the end of this presentation, I will respond to all of them. So when you want to change something, like when you want to learn about time management, about consistency, about commitment, what is the first stage? What's the second? And what's the third one? You will learn about formulas to success and happiness. You're engineering PhD students, and I'm thinking you love to learn through formulas because that is a language which is familiar to you. And formula to excellence, this is inspired by E = mc squared, Einstein's famous formula. And of course, multidisciplinary thinking. You're all PhD students, and I have done a PhD in education. So I want to acknowledge that the last part, the multidisciplinary thinking, it's inspired by Dr. Peter Kaufman. He has a lecture, I have listened to it more than 20 times. And each time I listen to it, I learn something new. So I acknowledge that this last part is actually inspired by a section of his lecture. I usually have a promise at the beginning of my presentations, and for you today, my promise is you will walk away from this presentation as a resourceful individual. What do I mean by that? I mean you will learn things that probably you haven't heard before, or you'll hear it and learn it in a different way. So there is knowing and understanding. However, it's completely different from implementing it into your life, taking the first steps to try and change the aspects of life that you have mentioned in your responses. And I have a hope for you. I absolutely love this poem by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. The last stanza reads as, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So my hope for you is by the end of this presentation, you will be one of the people who takes the road less traveled by. Why? Because that is what makes all the difference. As Steve Jobs says, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. So here in this presentation, in learning the art of living, I am teaching you how to be yourself, how to follow your own path, how to learn time management, discipline, consistency, the formulas to happiness and success. A bit of housekeeping about Zoom. I usually have this. I know that you're PhD students, you're amazing, intelligent people. This is a world-class learning environment. You're a part of Monash University. I want you to be attentive, of course, and engaging in the presentation. I will ask you to write into the chat, raise your hands if you're comfortable, and I will ask you questions and I want you to engage. And the reason for that is, whenever you engage in any type of learning environment, the success rates for retention is much higher. So when you do that, oh, thank you, Lillian, it can actually increase the rates of retention. There are some prerequisites for the day. I want you to come with an open mind. What do I mean by that? All of us have a glass of learning and understanding, and it's usually half full. I want you to leave it outside the room, wherever you're sitting now. Come with an empty cup and bring your let's find out attitude. And I promise you, by the end of 90 minutes, your cup is waiting for you. You can get back to it. But please be receptive, bring your open mind, and come with a long-term thinking. There is a very famous book. The title is Long-Termism. And the theme is, whatever action you take or do not take, whatever decision you make or do not make, it influences and affects minimum 7 generations after you. So each action and every decision in your life, when you look at it from this perspective, you see how important it could be based on the ripple effect. So I want you to bring your long-term thinking. Again, you are PhD students. If you're doing it full-time, it takes minimum 3 to 4 years. If part-time, sometimes 8 years. And you know that anything worthwhile takes time. Last but not least, my favorite one, please bring your pen and paper, take notes. Why? When you're taking notes, you tell your brain, what I am doing is important, so you better be paying attention. And after this meeting, if you want to review something, if something really resonated with you, you have the opportunity because you've already taken notes. And I always tell all my students, all my clients, a pen has the power to not only change your life, but to change the whole world. And I'm thinking that's one of the reasons why you're doing your PhD, which you're going to produce a thesis, you're going to have papers, because they say there is a very famous line, a scholar's ink lasts longer than a martyr's blood. Actually, I got this from a fortune cookie, and it was very much relevant to me, and I think it's relevant to any PhD students. So writing tells your brain that you're doing something important. Now, let's start with the power of why. What brings you here today? You can type into the chat. I'm really curious to know what brings you here today. When you were reading that abstract, when you saw that invitation, out of curiosity, what resonated with you that you are here today with us? While you're thinking about why you're here, I want to give you the reason why I start with why. The German philosopher Nietzsche says, if you have a strong why, you will find out the how. You will work out the how. And whatever you're doing, including your PhD, choosing your partner, choosing the job, everything, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Once you have that strong why, you will find out your way. Society keeps trying to tell us that doing well in life means constantly doing more and more. I would like to learn better ways to master life than this. I love that, Amy. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That's why in my course, there is something I teach. It's called the moment of responsibility. In every adult's life, when you reach the moment of responsibility, you need to take the responsibility for all the decisions and indecisions, actions and inactions. If you go to the summit, you say, that's my responsibility. If you just fall down, again, you say, that's my responsibility, and you go from there. Self-care to help me change the world easier by persevering myself. Andy, I want to give you a one-liner to that sentence you've written there. Most probably you have heard this. It goes something along the lines of, when I was younger, I wanted to change the world. As I become wiser, I try to change myself. Why? Because we are the only person we have control on. And miraculously, once you start changing your thinking, your habits, your environment, the people around you, even the opportunities that are presented to you, start changing. I want to learn practical tips to be resilient. Lovely, lovely. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing that. And now I want to tell you my why. Why is very important, and you're here to summarize all that. You're here to learn about the art of living. For me, if you were with me in 2012, you would have found yourself in a reasonable apartment. Everything looked fine from outside. However, in the apartment, my constant companions were wet pillows and puffy eyes. I was trapped in an unhappy marriage, and societal expectations weighed heavy on me. As Robert Frost says, there were two roads I could take. Road number one, stay there, accept whatever the society, my parents, everyone tells me. It makes me emotional each time. And the second way was to accept the moment of responsibility, go my own way, know my own potential, and just the road less traveled by. And I knew that my only way out of that was what came highest in my value, and that is education. I always wanted to get my PhD, but I said, Ellie, there is only one way, and you need to get a scholarship somewhere around the world, doesn't matter, so that you can go your way, just be yourself. I started applying for scholarships and get a PhD position. I was trying for 2 years with no success. But each night before sleeping, I had only one vision. I am sitting on an aeroplane at the window seat. I have no scarf. I have a big smile and I say, I made it. It happened on a Monday in May 2015. I got that email. Congratulations, you have won a UIPA scholarship. After that, the road was bumpy, but I was determined to travel the road less traveled by. And by doing that, I came to this country with 2 suitcases. And now I'm here. I am honored and I have the privilege to speak to you, to share my experiences and to share my knowledge. So that has made all the difference. And my why is to share my story. And if anyone resonates with that, their moment of responsibility has come. And with that, thank you very much. I want to share with you my vision and mission. My vision is to provide basic education to children worldwide. And my salary from university and my business, a percentage of that always goes to provide basic education. Why? Because education empowers. Education has changed my life. I have experienced rebirth through education. And how do I do that? I help people to cultivate an empowering mindset. Why an empowering mindset is important, I'll explain that later. But before going there, I want to talk about Einstein again. When I learned this for the first time, I was just surprised. I couldn't believe it. According to Einstein, there are 5 levels of cognitive prowess. Starting from number 5, people are smart. That's the 5th level. The 4th one, above that, people are intelligent. Above that, people are brilliant. 2nd is genius. And when I got there, is it possible that we have something more powerful than someone being genius? And yes, according to Einstein, that's simple. What he means by that is, if you cannot explain something to a 6-year-old, it means you haven't understood it. So whatever you're going to learn today, it's going to be simple. That's why in the abstract, I had written that this is going to be simple, this is going to be practical, because if I cannot say it simply, it means I have not understood it myself. So everything is going to be simple. Before going there, we're going to do a breakout activity. As I said, I want this to be interactive. And the question is, if I had everything I needed, where would I be in 5 years from now? And who would I become? So 10 more seconds for everyone to return to the main room, and then I'll let you know what we're doing. If you can keep your cameras on, just do them, please. Okay, so wonderful. Now I want you to write in one sentence what you talked about, what you shared in the breakout rooms. If I had everything I needed, where would I be in 5 years from now? Who would I become? And I would appreciate it if you kept yourself on mute. So in the chat box, what did you talk about? Where would you be in 5 years from now, and who would you become? This is your future belonging. For anyone who wants to learn the art of living, they need to start here. At least have a sketch, a blueprint of where I'm going. This gives meaning to your life. Let's see. So the realization that if we had everything we needed, then the problems of life were no longer a concern. So our core values became what was most important, and thus what was followed. Exactly. Beautiful. The concept of values, that's another thing I teach, and everyone needs to know their core values. I call them in my method star values. And whatever endeavor you're a part of, you need to include your values there. I feel I would always try for something more. As if I had everything, I would not be in the same disciplined and driven person. Interesting. Andy, to answer that, first of all, thank you for sharing. And secondly, once you are working in line with your core values, no matter how much you have in terms of finances and other areas of life, you will still do what you are doing. So that's the difference between someone who is working towards and in line with their values and someone who is not. Anything else? One more minute to see if someone else is typing. Going once, going twice, and going 3 times. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Let's continue. So as promised, you are going to learn about 3 stages of change. Anything you want to change in your life, be it a recurring thought pattern, be it a habit that's not serving you anymore, anything. First of all, you need to have an intention. You had an intention, that's why you're here today in this meeting. You wanted to learn about something. After the intention, you need to ritualize that change. For example, let's imagine my intention is to have a healthy lifestyle in my 80s. That's my vision. That's my future belonging. And the ritual, one of them would be choosing healthy meals. The other one would be going to the gym twice a week, for example. So I need to ritualize it. Why? One of the questions you had asked about time management. Time management actually is energy management. Once something is a ritual in your life, you don't need to think, what should I eat now? Should I go to the gym or not? Because it's a part of you. And what is a higher stage of change is your identity. Once you identify as a person who has a healthy lifestyle, your time management skills become better and you save more energy. Example, the most famous people, powerful people in the world, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Bill Gates, they wear the same clothes all the time. Why? Because it's a ritual, because they want to save their energy, right? And the highest level is identity. If you identify as a person who manages their time wisely, I promise you, you have more rituals, more habits in your life, because it saves a lot of time. Next thing, what is the happiness formula? A lot of research has been done on this area, and Dr. Martin Seligman has come up with this formula, which I find it intriguing. 50% of our happiness level is determined by our biology, by our genes. I'm sure you know people around you that they're happy just for no reason. And there are people who look down all the time. So our genes, our biology, it's 50%. So internal conditions. Is it possible to change it? Yes, of course. There are ways to change it, but I'm not getting into that today. 10% of our happiness levels are determined by our circumstances. What do I mean by that? For example, you're a PhD student. Whether an experiment gives you a result or not, that's external condition. Whether the paper you have submitted to that journal, it's accepted, rejected, how much editing it needs, that's external condition. The country you live in, your partner, your parents, these are all external conditions. Usually we spend most of our energy here, but look at the formula. It's only 10% of your happiness. So where do we have control? The last one, your voluntary decisions and actions. Look at the percentage, it's 40%. What do I mean by that? Once you answer this question, if I had all I needed, this is your voluntary decision and action to set a vision for yourself, to tell yourself where I am going, a blueprint. It can change, it can evolve, that's absolutely fine, but you need to start somewhere. When you have an intention to change something in your life, to learn something in your life, to finish your PhD, to become an academic, go to industry, whatever your vision is, what are you doing? You are controlling your voluntary decisions and actions. So if you want to be a happier person, you only have control on your voluntary decisions and actions. And once you make more empowering decisions and actions, do not be surprised if the circumstances in your life start to change, because always changes from inside out. We always love to criticize the outside world, the external conditions, but as you see in this I'm not saying this is a formula, written on stone, nothing like that. By sharing this formula, I want to highlight that you have control on what you do and what you don't do. As I said, your actions and your inactions. And at this point, I would love to share with you the psychological meaning of happiness. Listen carefully, and you might want to write this down. The psychological meaning of happiness is you experience happiness when you are in the process of moving towards a meaningful goal you have set for yourself. Let's take writing your PhD thesis, for example, as a meaningful goal for yourself. Once you do an experiment, once you write the first draft of your literature review, once you get positive feedback from your supervisor on your methodology chapter, once your first ever paper gets accepted with minor revisions, you feel this sense of happiness. Why? Because you have set yourself a meaningful goal and you are on the journey, on the process of moving towards that goal, moving towards that meaningful vision. And that's when you experience happiness. So this is the psychological meaning of happiness. Why? Because you have a vision, you have set yourself a goal, and what are you doing here? You're making voluntary decisions and taking actions towards that goal. And that's when you feel happiness. Some people say, I want to experience the black belt level of happiness. And now we need to turn to Mark Twain. Mark Twain says, to get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. What does this mean for you? Division is a mathematical concept. Usually whatever you divide, you will have lesser. For example, if you have a piece of cake and you divide it with people, you yourself get a smaller piece of the cake, right? However, it's just the opposite about happiness. The more you share your happiness, the happier you become. So, if you want to become a happier person, define a meaningful goal to yourself based on the chat, something in line with your core values. Take smaller steps towards that, and on the journey, you will feel happiness. You want to feel more happiness? Share it with others. What does that mean for you as a PhD student? For example, let's imagine you have attended a seminar about how to write the best methodology chapter in engineering PhD, for example. Probably you can summarize it and send an email to other people in your group. Oh, I just attended this. I thought this might be useful to you. Not only you will become happier, but anyone receiving that email will be appreciating you and you will be sharing that happiness with you. Just a very simple example, but practical. Do we have any questions so far before I continue? You can either raise your hand or type it into the chat. While you are thinking about your questions, I was in another presentation yesterday and one of the participants asked me a very wise question. He asked me, Ellie, give me one trait that if I had it, I would be guaranteed to experience success in all aspects of my life, at least most aspects of my life. I thought a little about it and I referred to Dr. Peter Kaufman again on that. And I said, in this time and age, you do not see very many reliable people. Reliable here, I mean someone, they say, I will do this, I will be there, you can rely on me, and you're sure, you're 100% sure they will either do that or they will inform you something happened, I couldn't do it. So if you want to know what is one single trait that you can become in your life, and you are almost guaranteed to be successful in your relationships, get that promotion in your job, finish your PhD thesis successfully, get that job you're applying for, is to start becoming a reliable person. And once you start becoming that, as I said, the change starts from within yourself. You see that more reliable people start entering your world. So it seems that we do not have any questions at this point, which is absolutely fine. Let's move to the next thing I have promised, the success formula. For this one, I want to refer to a Japanese billionaire, Dr. Kazuo Inamori. Someone asked him, you are a successful person, at least financially. Tell us, what's the formula to success? And this is what he shared. To be successful, there is this multiplication of your attitude multiplied by effort, multiplied by ability. I have tweaked it a little bit. I have replaced attitude with your mindset because I know that mindset means the pair of glasses you wear to interpret the stimuli that enters into your world, the meaning you give to things in your life, the stories you tell yourself about your past, about the country you were born in, about the person you are, about your confidence, about your clarity. This is all your mindset. Definitely you need to put in the effort, and definitely you need to learn the skills. But here is the shift. In terms of skills, if you want to have a number for this, you want to quantify this, you can rate your skills from 0 to 100 because skill cannot be negative. Your effort is the same. You're either putting in the effort or not. You can rank yourself from 0 to 100. However, your mindset can be quantified ranging from -100 to +100. What does it mean? This is pure mathematics. No matter how much effort you put in, no matter your skill set, if your mindset is disempowering, which means you're not asking the right kind of questions, you do not have an empowering attitude, the outcome for your success most probably is going to be negative. Because as I said, this is multiplication, it is mathematics. So you not only need to put in the effort and learn the skills, but also you need to cultivate an empowering mindset. Why? It takes me to Einstein again. This is the formula that I believe is guaranteed to give you success. Why? Because look at the compound interest. What is compound interest? According to Einstein again, it is the most powerful force in the universe. What does it mean? It means it's a reliable force. Each time you use that, it's going to give you the results. So mindset, M, in MC squared, M stands for mindset, and C stands for compound interest. So what is excellence? Good question. Remember this question? The vision you write for yourself, which is your ideal version, all of us have an ideal version. All of us have a future belonging we are moving towards, right? This excellence is your future belonging, what is meaningful to you, the vision you are moving towards. So in order to reach that, you need to work on your mindset, cultivate an empowering mindset. It is multiplied by the most powerful force in the universe, which is compound interest. And what is compound interest? One definition for that is dogged, incremental, constant progress over a very long time frame. Remember in the beginning of this presentation, I asked you to bring your long-termism into this presentation, into this life. And it's the same thing about life. It's the same thing about getting a PhD. Anything worthwhile takes time. And it is a small, every day you need to show up for your PhD and take the next step. Show up, take the next step. And once you start becoming consistent and committed to it, that's when the results show. Oh, you say, oh, my paper got accepted. Oh, I got great feedback from my supervisor. Oh, I was offered this teaching position, for example, at university. So once you start putting in the effort, the outer world starts responding to you. And with that, we go to my friend Aristotle. What does he say? We are what we repeatedly do. This is the identity part in the 3 stages of change, by the way. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Another word for habit was this ritual I shared with you. So 3 stages of change, anything you want to change in your life. You want to learn time management, you need to have an intention, you need to ritualize productivity in your life, and then you need to embody a person who knows how to manage their time. You want to learn discipline in life, it starts with an intention, you ritualize the discipline in your life, and then identify as a person who actually presents as a disciplined person in their life. Once again, any questions? Any comments? Any feedback? Any confusion?
Hi, Ali. Just a quick question regarding the happiness makeup. Like the 10% is external stimulus, and then 40%, another 50% is that biological,
Yeah.
set point. What does that mean? That internal conditions? Does that mean that if a person is not well, then very likely 50% that he will or she will not feel happy or something like that? I
So
mean, is that
internal conditions
just
here means yes, happiness can be inherited. So either we inherit happy genes or happiness genes, or we don't. As I said, you see some people, they are usually relatively happier than other people, like for no reason. Same circumstances, same situation, same country, similar, environment, but their level of happiness is different. Possibly one of the reasons could be their biological set points are different. Let me give you another example. For example, lottery winning is one of the things everyone wants to win the lottery, right? But research shows that lottery winners, no matter how much happiness or excitement they experience, after a period of time, they come back, return to their biological set points. Marriage, that's a huge change in a person's life. You just go through a honeymoon phase, you just feel the happiest person in life, then each person return to their biological set point. So each person has a biological set point. As I said, it is genetic, environment has a role, there are a lot of things, but usually it is genetics. There are ways to change it. For instance, the people who constantly meditate, this is again something scientific, they can shift their biological set point. The people who practice mindfulness, the people who practice rhythmic breathing, consistently because of compound interest, as I explained, they can actually influence their biological set point. However, a huge change cannot happen there. And whatever change happens, like you change your biological set point, again, no matter how much excitement enters your life, it's just like a rubber band. You just stretch it, it returns to its biological set point. Does that answer your question?
So biological set points means physically and emotionally kind of balance or something. So well, this 50% is a big chunk. So that means that we have to handle this biological set point well. So because the other is 40% and 10%. So if let's say we got the circumstances, I mean we work very hard at 40% and but then we don't biological set points to me it seems like more a mental state, mental health, and your physical health, and that sort of things all combined. So that part has to be like uh, be maintained, or it has to be balanced as well. Otherwise, I mean, it's like it will affect your perceptions of happiness and that sort of things, right? Mm.
If I want to answer your question, I would say I wouldn't spend my energy on the biological set point. Where I have control, excuse me, as an individual, is my voluntary decisions and actions. We usually do not have control on the biological set point. Physical, mental, genetics, hereditary part of the happiness. So the message of this happiness formula is use your energy, invest your energy where you have control. And where do I have control? In my voluntary decisions and actions. As I said, it is possible to work on this biological set point, shift it using different techniques, which is beyond this presentation. However, if I were you, or even in my own life, where I put my energy, invest my energy, is in the actions and decisions that I have in my life.
Yeah, what I see is that your voluntary decisions can actually impact on your biological set point. For example, exercising will really help, to improve your both your mental health and physical health, for example. So biological set point can be sort of like changed if you exercise a lot. Is that So I still don't get that biological separate, but doesn't matter. I mean, step beside.
But exercise is a good example, Lillian. What is exercising? It's a voluntary decision that I have made for myself to do some form of action. What happens when I do exercise? Lots of chemicals are produced in my brain, and it of course increases my level of happiness and fulfillment, but it falls under the 40%. These biological set points, as I said, they are usually fixed. Usually fixed. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So believing half your happiness is fixed by the biological set point sounds like a voluntary choice to think that way. It is not a voluntary choice to think that way. There is research supporting that it's called even happiness genes, which means that you either inherit them or you don't inherit them. And as I said, the example would be we all have experienced some people just, normally are happier than others. It's because they have inherited the happiness genes. Okay. Let's move to the next part. One of my favorite parts. I just drink some water. I have a question for you. How does everything in the world work? If you want to give me an answer in 1 or 2 words only, what would you say? You can type into the chat. How does everything in the world work? Connection, love that. Again, I want to acknowledge again, this part is inspired by Dr. Peter Kaufman's presentation. Anything else? How does everything in the world work? Systems and structures. I like that, Victor. Action and reaction. Yes. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. So, change. One of my famous lines are entropy. Yeah, thanks. The only constant in our lives is change. Beautiful, beautiful. To answer this question, I am going to refer to 3 buckets. You are researchers and you know that the best sample needs to be large enough and relevant enough. And I'm going to share with you large samples, very relevant answers, relevant samples to answer this question. Our first bucket is 13.7 billion years old. Is it large? Is it relevant? Definitely yes. That is the inorganic universe, like laws of physics. What is my second bucket? My second bucket is 3.5 billion years old, and that's biology on Earth. And my third bucket is 20,000 years of recorded human history. Why am I using these buckets? Because I want to get the answer to this question, how does everything in the world work, using interdisciplinary thinking. And for you PhD students writing your thesis, one of the great ways whenever you feel stuck is to go study other disciplines and see, oh, how can I apply this into my discipline? So that was like a cheat sheet for you there to use. So let's use my first bucket. How does everything in the world work? I'm going to use Newton's third law. What does Newton's third law say? If I push this bottle with a specific force, the bottle is pushing back with a specific force. So what is the bottle trying to do here? If you want to use one word to explain what is happening here, what word would you use? I'm pushing this table here, and it's pushing back. What is happening here? What word? Reaction, another word. I like the word reciprocation or reciprocity. It kind of reciprocates. So whatever I'm doing, the bottle is doing. And the force, the number is exactly the same. So I need another word. So it's not mere reciprocity. It is mirrored reciprocity. So whatever force I use, the bottle is going to use the exact force. So we got our answer from the first bucket. Let's move to the second bucket. Biology. So first one was physics, second's biology. Imagine you walk into a room, there is a cat sitting on the couch enjoying himself or herself. You get the cat by its tail and you start throwing it in the air. What do you think the cat will try to do? The cat will try to scratch you, will try to do exactly the same thing because you irritated the cat. The cat says, I will do the same to you. So what is happening here? Reciprocation. The more you agitate the cat, the more the cat will try to reciprocate. So what would be the answer from the second bucket? Mirrored reciprocity. Let's move to the third bucket. I want to use an example of an elevator. You get on the elevator, there are some people there before you. You get there, you do nothing. Most probably, the other people in the elevator, they will do nothing. Second scenario, you walk into the elevator, you smile and say hi. Most probably, other people will smile and say hi back. So what is happening here? People are reciprocating based on what you did. Someone said action and reaction, which is similar to that. And usually it's mirrored. It's very similar to what you did. So do you agree that consulting these three relevant large samples, the answer to the question, how does everything in the world work, would be mirrored reciprocity? With a show of hands, let's see how many people agree. Your virtual hand. Yeah. Great. So why is this relevant to you? And why is this relevant to the art of living? If you want anything in your life, you need to, first of all, consult these relevant large samples, ask the question from different disciplines. And you need to be the person who goes first. And hopefully you go positive, just like the example of the elevator. And again, relevant to personal development, whatever you have inside, the outside world will be a reflection of what you have cultivated within you, inside you. And relevant to your PhD thesis, as I said, it's very helpful when you feel stuck somewhere, when you're writing the literature, methodology, go and see what is happening in other fields. For example, you're doing engineering, go read something in history, go read something in literature, go read something in biology and see what is happening there. And probably you can bring it into your own field and make your own thesis interdisciplinary so that other people can relate to that as well. So I want to leave these buckets with you. Hopefully, whenever you have another question in your life, you can consult these buckets and get your answers for your questions. To me, this is one of the most fascinating concepts I have learned from Dr. Peter Kaufman, and I love resharing that because I believe it's pure gold. Now, let's see, before that, let's see how many of the concepts that I had promised I have covered. I haven't covered the first one yet, just talked about it a little bit. I've talked about 3 stages of change, which are intention, ritual, and embodiment, or change in identity. I talked about formulas to success and happiness, and I related that formula to excellence. Excellence is your ideal version, your future belonging you're moving towards. And I shared with you multidisciplinary way of thinking, the 3 buckets that you can use in your life. And now I want to talk about this one-liner as your North Star in life. If you want to learn the art of living, what should you do? You can consult what I have shared so far, plus I want to tell you a story. I always gravitate towards senior citizens wherever I see them. One time I was in a shopping center with my 4.5-year-old daughter, and there was a senior citizen sitting there and had a big smile on his face. Just, I don't know, something happened with him and I felt like I need to have a conversation with this person. I approached him, he had a big smile. I said, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, what brings you to the shopping center? What's your name?" His name was John. John asked me, "How old do you think I am?" And I'm always afraid of this question. I was like, "I really don't know, just you tell me." He said, "I'm 93 years old. I'm an independent person. I do my exercise, and I always have a project to work on." I asked him, "John, what's the secret? Tell me." He said, "Ellie, if you want to learn the art of living, longevity, and being an independent, happy senior citizen, the secret is always have a meaningful project to work on." I say that again. Always have a meaningful project to work on. I want to get back to levels of cognitive prowess by Einstein. This is the simplest thing I have ever heard about the art of living. If I want to break it down, there are a lot of elements to it, but it is really simple. Just answer the question, where do I see myself in 5 years' time from now? And see if it's meaningful to you by finding your values. And then take one step towards it. If you want to reach excellence, you need to rely on compound interest. Show up every day, take the next step towards your goal, and on the journey of moving towards your goal, what will you experience? According to psychology, you will experience happiness and fulfillment. So that was the one-liner as your North Star. If there is one thing you want to take out of this presentation, no matter how old you are, at what stage of your life you are, always have a meaningful project in your life that you are working towards. Not only you will feel happy, you will have a sense of accomplishment, you will have a sense of meaning in your life, and you feel like you're really making progress in your life. With that, I want to go to the most recurring themes. And again, thank you very much for everyone who had responded to the question. What is one life skill that if you learned and you committed to it, you will experience a higher quality of life? Time management was on the top. I get that. You're PhD students, you're balancing life, your studies, some of you probably have kids, other responsibilities, you're working, all that. I want to tell you that time management actually is managing your energy. In other words, time management is energy management in disguise. And to respond to that question, how can you learn to manage your time better or manage your energy better, is again the same answer. Have a meaningful project in your life and ask yourself, what I'm going to do, does it align with that meaningful project in my life? If the answer is yes, you can invest time in that. If not, just brutally say no to that. And if something needs to be done in your life, it's one of your responsibilities, but it does not necessarily take you closer to that meaningful goal, ask yourself, how can doing this take me closer to that goal? And this is the power of asking empowering questions. Just make that thing relevant to your goal, and you'll be able to also invest time in that. The second theme, the most recurring theme, was learning discipline and consistency and being committed to something. Again, if the goal is meaningful to you, you will be able to be committed to it. And the secret is, I always say, there's no secret. Have a meaningful goal, show up every day, and take the tiniest, the smallest step towards that. Write only one sentence in your thesis. Do only one experiment, or the first step of the experiment. Your engineering students, probably some of you have experiments to do. Communication skills, go to these buckets. Communication skills, whatever job you apply for, it's one of the prerequisites and requirements for any job you are doing. You want to be good at communication skills? Go first, go positive. And whatever you're doing, remember, the world works on the concept of mirrored reciprocity. Whatever you put in, it will get back to you in some way. So that's for the communication skills. And stress management and emotional resilience, which is mental well-being. I know post-COVID, this is one of the most favorite topics in all presentations, courses, like professional development everywhere. Once you have a meaningful goal that you are moving towards, by some surprise, you see that some part of your stress is reconciled. Why? You might not believe this, but research proves that there are a lot of people out there who go to work, to the job they hate, every day, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. That's why we have a concept called Mondayitis. And the highest number of suicides are on a Monday. Again, you can check the statistics for this. The research proves that. Why? If you want to manage your stress, spend some time to find what it is you really love, what really comes high in your values, and show up and take one step towards that. And I promise you, you see that your stress is managed better. I'm not saying this is the only solution, but it can be part of a solution. I know that life is expensive now. We need to do the jobs we do not necessarily love. But if you ask yourself this question, how can doing this job temporarily will help me and will get me to closer to that meaningful goal I have set for myself? You see that even your relationship to that job that you do not necessarily like changes. So this is the power of mindset shift. This is the power of asking yourself empowering questions. I know that in no school, in no university, we have learned skills. That's why in my courses I teach something, I think I told you, the moment of responsibility, that we need to take responsibility to work on our mindset, to shift it, to free it from autopilot and take control back, to become the driver, to become the director of our lives. Again, I want to provide another opportunity for questions and then I will go on.
Recording stopped.
Sorry, Ellie, I just paused recording so people can ask questions. Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
feel free to question everyone. Yeah, it's not recorded. Yeah.
Yeah, you can raise your hand, virtual, physical, you can type it into the chat. I just noticed we have Halajan here. Thank you for joining us. whenever I have presentations or I'm teaching a course, I have a one-liner. I say, change confusions into questions. Like while you're listening to some things, oh, that doesn't make sense. Instead of getting just losing the focus, just write a question. Oh, what's the meaning of? I want to know more about da-da-da. And then your mind knows that you're going to take care of it. Then you can concentrate on the rest of it. So always change confusions to questions. No questions? A very quiet room. All good.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So you can see that I have delivered on what I had promised. I have given you the one-liner. Always have a meaningful project to work towards. 3 stages of change, the formula to success and happiness, formula to excellence and multidisciplinary thinking. All of these are the kindergarten stuff of the courses that I teach, that I work with my clients one-on-one in groups. And one thing on my bucket list that I'm sure is going to happen one day when the timing is right is I want to take my course to university level, because I see that a lot of students can benefit from finding out their values, knowing about multidisciplinary thinking, thinking about happiness and how they can be on the journey of even defining a meaningful goal for themselves, defining a meaningful project for themselves, and being on the way of that, and having an accountability partner actually to support them on that way. Just want to show you a snapshot of what it looks like. So leading with vision exactly is describing, designing that meaningful project for yourself by finding about your values, by asking those empowering questions, by describing your heaven and hell. Like, what is your version of your ideal self that you're moving towards, and the version of hell you're actually escaping from. You don't want to be there. And then we initiate the journey, taking the first steps. I talk about compound interest in more detail there, about empowering mindset, how a person can cultivate an empowering mindset, focusing on the next step. There is a line which is very common on social media these days. It says, I don't know what to do next. And then the next line is, oh, do you know the next step? It says, yes, okay, just focus on that. So you don't need to have the big picture. It's helpful at times, like your North Star, but usually what you're doing is just focusing on the next step. And evolving in evolution, since the very first humans set foot on this planet Earth, we have been on the journey of evolution. So once you have a blueprint, a sketch of what you're moving towards, and once you start changing, evolving and evolution is inevitable. Your goal is going to change. The journey is going to change. The people in your life will change, and change is the only constant in your life. So this is the pyramid that I teach in my courses, as I said. And as I said, I would love to take this course to University. Lillian, if you know any ways that I can do this, I'm more than happy to have a discussion about that. And this is a breakdown of most of the things that I cover in my course. And if anyone wants to keep in touch with me, there is my email. That's my book, and it's also in the background. I was just telling Lillian, it's called Evolve. It's the last stage of what I teach, and it's a part of the journey. In my book, I talk about my journey, how I have become and I am becoming the person I am here talking to you, and this is a privilege. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Hale and Lillian for providing this opportunity for me to share my knowledge and energy with you. I am on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. If anyone wants to stay in touch, totally optional. You can do that. And I want to share this. This is one of my favorite ones. I always say the best time to master your life and learn the art of living was yesterday. The second best time is right now. I can share my knowledge, but the people who need to make decisions, it's you. Your moment of responsibility has come because you're an adult and now you have received this information. But whether you are going to take action on that or not, that is up to you. And because how many people I have here? I have 19 people here minus 3, so I have 16 people here. I want to give you an opportunity, if anyone is serious to actually learn about mastering their life, the art of living, seriously, I want to give you a present, a non-obligation present, which is, this is an exclusive opportunity only for 5 people. I'm happy to give you a free clarity call. All you need to do is to scan the QR code and we can be in touch. You get a free clarity call for an hour with me. We can talk more about that. But as I said, it is optional if you want to. I'm happy to leave the link in the chat. And with that, I want to thank you for being here, for sharing your energy with me. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Thank you, Adrian.